President and Board of Trustees. Roll call.
Trustee Rassich.
Here.
Trustee Wajowski.
Here.
Trustee Benucci.
Here.
Trustee Lamb.
Here.
Trustee O'Rourke.
Here.
Trustee Peck. Mayor Collins.
Here, rise for the pledge. Pledge allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Presidential comments.
Well, the first one I have is everyone can hear me.
Yes.
We did the sound system. We hired a contractor. We put 8 speakers in, and they're all adjusted, and now everyone can hear everyone else, and same as the audience. So I'm real pleased that that's done. I've griped about this for a number of years, and it finally came true. It's almost Christmas, so I guess that's come through. The other thing, I only have one other thing, and that was beginning of the week, Mr. Persons and I went out to Washington because they advised us that if we came out there, we could talk about our fast lane and Tiger grants. And so we met with a policy analyst, deputy assistant director, and associate director of governmental affairs, and talked about both our fast lane and our Tiger grants. With the fast lane, there was 212 applicants, and 147 were recommended, and 123 went to the secretary, of which ours was one. So we were very pleased with that. We did not get the grant, but we were on the director's desk. And then concerning the Tiger grant, there was 600 applicants. Only 45 projects were approved, but we also made that director's desk, and we went under the heading of highly recommended. And so we were real optimistic about that, and they gave us a few pointers that if we changed some things on our application, of which we are going to reapply, it could be very favorable for us. Now, they couldn't say we'd get it, but at least it's favorable. So I was very optimistic with this, and I appreciate Mr. Persons going out with me and making the presentation, and I want to thank the staff for putting that grant together, because otherwise we wouldn't be in the highly recommended and on these directors' desks. So to all the staff that helped, I really appreciate it, and that's all I have.
Trustees' comments.
I'd like to thank the students we have in the audience from Joliet Catholic and Plainfield North. We sit here on election eve. You're about to witness something that you'll probably be able to talk about for the rest of your life, whether it goes one way or the other. It's very important to vote, not just so much for the presidential race, but for the down ballot races, all the way to your local communities. Pay attention, be informed, and let your voice be heard. Thank you.
Are there any other trustee comments?
Sorry, yes, I have a few. So this Friday is a holiday for some of us. It's Veterans Day, so I just wanted to, give a shout out and a thank you to all of our veterans and active military personnel for their dedicated service. Their dedication is certainly appreciated. Secondly, as Trustee Wojciechowski indicated, that tomorrow is Election Day, so at least the commercials will soon stop. One thing that sometimes people get confused as to village, park district, school board, those kinds of things, and they think the village takes all the tax dollars and we're control over those. So I've gotten a few questions, and I called actually on the Plainfield Township referendum. I'm not asking for a vote one way or another, but some people were curious. They said, we know if it passes, our taxes are not going to change, but what happens if it doesn't pass? And just for the knowledge, what I was told is a $250,000 house would save about $22 a year. $22 a year. Right now, the average home for $250,000 pays about $208 into the park district. If the referendum does not pass, they would save $22 a year. The other thing that I've been getting questions or answers about, 127th Street. So it's been closed for some of the road construction. I know it was supposed to be temporary, and I was just curious if we have any updates as to when it's going to reopen temporarily.
Yeah, just very quickly, our contractor encountered a problem out there as far as AT&T had 2 large fiber optic cables that were not located, not relocated. Now, that being said, AT&T did relocate 80% of their facilities. They just didn't realize that there were 2 other cables in there. So when D unearthed the 2 cables, that brought kind of a halt to the project in that area. The good news is AT&T was able to get the material. They were on site today and they started working, and they thought that it'd be 3 to 4 days that it'd take them to complete that. D is going to return to working at the box culvert site, which is where the bridge is at, tomorrow. And we're trying to get them back on track as far as schedule is concerned. We'll know more towards the end of this week, and we'll make sure to send that out in the e-news and notify the mayor and the board and the public related to a possible extension of a closure if that occurs.
So right now, it's still on track for the original plan?
We are doing our best to keep them on track. I mean, the weather, you know, they call for rain
No, I
tonight
get
and
it,
tomorrow, and they took it out of the forecast. So, I mean, we just keep plugging along. This is a great day for construction out here, and I hope it continues.
So what is that target date, do you know?
The 19th was the date to have the roadway opened again. So if it's going to be beyond that, we'll let our residents know well before that the closure will extend longer than the 19th.
Perfect, thank you very much.
Sure.
And then, lastly, is any update you could provide on the quiet zone? So I know there was talk about doing kind of a pre-meeting before the applications and submitting the application before the end of the year. Is there any update you could provide on that?
We have all of the data collected for the quiet zone application. A majority of the quiet zone application is completed. The street department employees are going to install the delineators at Droughton Road, which will help bolster the application too as well. The Caton Farm crossing has already been submitted. I don't know the timetable with the FRA. That was a Joliet submission with Plainfield's support. So that's already underway too as well. And that we do have a tentative meeting set up with the FRA for the middle of December. And at that point, we would formally apply. Now, we still could apply without the meeting, but having the meeting would actually move the application faster. So we will have the application done and submitted by the end of the year.
Great news, thank you.
That's it. Thank you.
Are there any other trustee comments?
I just one question. I agree with the mayor. The sound system is fantastic from our point of view up here. The people in the back row, if you're actually hearing what's going on, would you raise your hand? Thank you. Had fantastic improvement.
Well, as the others have said, when you talk about Veterans Day and you talk about voting, they go hand in hand. And this year, they're obviously a few days apart for this particular election. The important point that both the trustees made is about voting, but it's also about looking at the whole thing. No matter how much you may like or dislike someone else on that ballot, there are a lot of candidates on that ballot that are going to affect the way you live, the way your lifestyle is, the way your home and your taxes are, and all the other things that go with it. So whatever way you're planning to go, if you haven't done so already, and we've had hundreds and hundreds of people early vote all over the place, if you haven't done so, exercise that right, because on November 11th, when we say Happy Veterans Day, we're honoring those people that truly fought a long time ago up to the present day and current ongoing ways to keep our freedom in this country. And yes, the elections are crazy, but where else in the world do you have the rights to know what you're seeing right in front of you right now? So please take advantage of that.
Are there any other trustee comments? Not, this would be the time for public comments. Please come to the podium and state your name for the record, please.
Hi, Kathy Crawford. Can you hear me? Is the sound system working? Do I turn it on? Is it good? Good. Good? Okay. Kathy Crawford, what else? Go ahead. Okay, I just wanted to talk about represent the residents of Grand Park, and we would like to address the issue of the trees in our community. As of today, the Village of Plainfield has removed 199 dead trees along the boulevard and the islands of the Grand Park community. This number does not include any of the parkway trees in front of any of the homes, so we're discussing in the boulevard and on the islands. So of these 199 trees, 136 of them are on the east side of Ridge Road, 63 of them are on the west side of Ridge Road. So the Grand Park annexation agreement does not put the responsibility on the association for replacement of these trees. It is the responsibility of the village and has been discussed and acknowledged with Alan Persons, Director of Public Works. All of the tree replacements completed so far by the Village of Plainfield only address the parkway trees in the front of homes as detailed on the map that has been provided by Alan on November 4th. So we have been told by a few residents that a few of the island couple trees here and there have been replaced, but it's because of their persistence in regards to calling the village nonstop. So while 199 trees in the main thoroughfares of Grand Park community continue to remain as stumps. Our Grand Park Maintenance Committee representatives and property manager Christy Capoletti met with TJ Countryman in the spring of 2014 to discuss the issue and a plan for replacement. This conversation has continued over the past 2.5 years, and it has been worked its way through Public Works Department, including Mr. Miller and Mr. Persons. Despite numerous conversations and emails, we do not have a resolution as of yet. While Alan has graciously met to agree to meet with us again, which we greatly appreciate, it still doesn't address our need for the action without the support of the village trustees and specifically commitment of your resources. We fear that these trees will remain this way. In addition, the Public Works Department gives really misleading information to our residents who contact them to discuss their concerns and requesting their actions. Some village representatives tell our residents that these trees are the association's responsibility, sending them to the association manager for resolution. The inconsistent messages creates really big frustration and resentment for the Grand Park residents, which makes it harder for the committee volunteers, as myself, to work efficiently. So while we understand that this issue has hit the communities all around extremely hard and the village's resources are very limited, we have waited for almost 3 years and no trees have been replaced. We have been patient and just wanted assurance that these trees would be replaced in the next round. Grand Park and its residents take great pride in their community, and we hope to continue our good working relationship. We cannot do this without the cooperation and the action of the village. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, and I just want to make a statement. You know, Grand Park is a wonderful subdivision, will continue to be a wonderful subdivision. We do have a meeting with the residents as well as Christy Capoletti later this week to talk about this. We have installed, it is correct, mainly the trees that have been installed have been in front of properties. We've installed a little over 240 trees within the past couple of years within Grand Park, and there's a little over 2,400 healthy parkway trees within Grand Park. That doesn't mean to say that there aren't gaps out there too as well, but I want to assure you that we will meet with the group and we'll report back to the board with our summary of our discussion.
Mr. Persons, how many ash trees have you taken down throughout the entire village?
A little over 4,500 ash trees,
And how many have you replaced?
about 2,700 ash trees.
Okay. And our game plan is to replace all of those trees over a period of how many years?
Within the next 2 years, we should be in good standing as far as replacing those
In
trees.
good standing, but not complete. You're still expecting, as I remember, the conversation was that it can take as much as 4 years for us to be able to properly reforest the community. Isn't that what we had talked about before?
That's correct, based on tree availability. There are a number of different
That's
factors. and
exactly.
We'll talk about it as part of the street department budget, but we will reach out and meet with the group this week.
Thank you.
Are there any other public comments? Not, then we'll proceed with the business meeting. We're seeking a motion to approve the agenda.
So move.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the agenda. Trustee Rassich?
Yes.
Trustee Wajowski?
Yes.
Trustee Benucci?
Yes.
Trustee Lamb?
Yes.
Trustee O'Rourke?
Yes.
Thank you. That motion carries. We're seeking a motion to approve the consent agenda to include minutes of the board meeting held on October 17th and bills paid and bills payable reports for November 7th.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and
You do it.
seconded to approve items A and B under the consent agenda. Trustee Rassich?
Yes.
Trustee Wajowski?
Yes.
Trustee Benucci?
Yes.
Trustee Lamb?
Yes.
Trustee O'Rourke?
Yes.
Thank you. That motion carries. Next item on the agenda is zoning code text amendments. We're seeking board consideration of a motion to adopt ordinance number 3281, granting approval of the zoning code text amendments.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Are there any comments or questions on this item?
Yeah, so this is approval of zoning text amendment, correct, the special uses and the definitions?
That's correct. This includes a handful of different items that the board has discussed at previous committee of the whole meetings. It relates to regulation of special uses, formalizing our policy on food trucks, specific amendment related to LED or window outline signage being prohibited, and I think there was one other addition. So kind of a collection that we're processing as one amendment for efficiency.
I guess I just had a couple of comments. Number one, I think, just maybe from a housekeeping thing, it would seem to me that it would be a lot easier if there's changes, if we could kind of identify those changes in a document. In other words, instead of just creating the new document and sending it to us all corrected, if we could get a copy of what the corrections or additions or subtractions would be. I don't know if any of the other trustees feel the same way, but it makes it a lot easier than having to review one document next to the other document, going back and forth.
Well, if you're asking the other trustees, let me comment. The previous presentations to us were just exactly what you asked for. It showed what was changing and so on. They crossed out what was there. After looking at what we have tonight, I think we have a fantastic reference document that we can pull out anytime we got something coming up, says what can be permitted in certain areas. It's all complete rather than piecemeal. I mean, it's all in the ordinances, but now we have something which is, kind of a pull-out, 6 pages and whatever we can check. I like what here now, but we did see the other part, as you say earlier, and we approved it.
But I think, I think we did see that one page sheet with the crossouts.
Right, yeah.
But then if you look through what we have in front of us tonight, there are some additions, I guess, that were not labeled on that sheet, and maybe that were not talked about.
I don't have to defer to Jonathan whether there's anything there that we didn't know about.
I understand your suggestion. I can certainly address that in future situations when this arises. There were no changes or no additions beyond what the board reviewed previously in red line form.
Okay, so when I went through it, I just noticed a few things. So it says newspapers, printing presses, that was a new category. Was that on there before?
I may, not 100% sure.
There's also another one that's talked about outdoor uses within the right-of-way.
Oh, I see now. So in what was presented to the board previously, instead of providing the entire permitted use matrix, which is about 3 pages, staff merely added the rows and columns for the uses that were being discussed for amendments. So we added rows for the salon, body art, fortune telling, the secondary financial markets, and so forth. So there are only a handful of uses that were being discussed. Those were reflected in the table. But what's before the board now is that table with those 5 or 6 uses incorporated. So you're seeing the comprehensive permitted use matrix, but the only uses that are being revised are the ones that the board had reviewed previously in red line format. So I apologize for the
Okay,
confusion.
So you're saying the ones that we saw were the ones that were revised, but
That's
there were, in addition to the revisions, there were additions as well, correct?
No, so in the comprehensive table that you have before you this evening, the only changes to what the current Village of Plainfield adopted zoning ordinance sets forth are those changes that were reviewed at the previous meeting.
Okay, so newspapers, printing presses, that's a new category, is it not, or no?
No, that's been in the zoning code. It simply wasn't included in my previous report because there were no changes proposed to how that would be regulated.
Outdoor uses within the right-of-way?
Again, that's been in the zoning code, so I apologize for the confusion.
Right, I must have missed them, because when I went through trying to compare again, that's the whole thing I was asking for. So what is an outdoor use within the right-of-way?
That's basically all of the outdoor patios on Lockport Street downtown.
Okay. Self-storage, is that new?
No.
That's always been there. And that's, okay.
Steam up.
And then, the other thing that we talked about, I think I specifically even asked about at the last conversation, was there were 2 topics. One of them was childcare, and I wasn't asking for them to be included necessarily, but I was asking if we wanted to have a discussion about it. And then I think the childcare portion changed, if I understand it correct. B3, it is a special use that wasn't permitted before, is that correct?
There's 2 similar uses, daycare and childcare facilities. I think one is permitted by right and one requires a special use, but there were no changes proposed to either of those in the current discussion that the board has been conducting.
Okay. When I went through the one that I had, the old, and maybe it wasn't the most up to date, but I thought I referenced even the one from 2015. There were some differences that I noted, that's all.
Yeah, I regret the confusion. I know we do change the regulation of uses over time, and bless Marilee, in our office at least, each time that the code is updated, she'll come and literally take the binders off of our desks and swap out those pages. So it is possible for a hard copy to become a little bit outdated, and that could be a source of some confusion.
Okay. Because I think one of the ones I was referencing was the 2015. So, thank you.
Are there any other comments or questions? Not, the motion was made and seconded to adopt ordinance number 3281, granting approval of the zoning code text amendments. Trustee Rassich?
Yes.
Trustee Wajowski?
Yes.
Trustee Benucci?
Yes.
Trustee Lamb?
Yes.
Trustee O'Rourke?
Yes.
Thank you, that motion carries. Next item on the agenda is vacation of Massey Avenue. We're seeking board consideration of a motion to open a public hearing regarding the requested vacation of Massey Avenue north of Roberts Avenue.
I move that we open a public hearing on the subject of vacation of Massey Avenue north of Robert Avenue.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to open the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you, that motion carries.
And Mr. Mayor, if I may, just provide a brief introduction related to this case here. The subject site, just for vicinity, I know the board is likely familiar. It's located just east of Route 59 at the terminus of Robert Avenue, so just south of Fort Beggs Drive, but on the east side of Route 59. There is a platted right-of-way with the street name of Massey Avenue. It's not currently improved as a street, but it extends north from Robert Avenue and would provide additional street connectivity to the area that is now occupied or become part of the Plainfield Township Cemetery. Given that the cemetery is the current owner of the property, staff understands that there's no longer a need for a public street connection. The village was approached by Plainfield Township to assess our level of support for vacating this section of right-of-way. The township has been the lead applicant and has done the associated title work and coordination and prepared a plat of vacation for this. Staff has published, provided the appropriate public notice for the public hearing that's required by state statute to consider the vacation request. Staff believes that the two findings of fact to support the vacation have been satisfied, and so staff would be seeking approval at this time.
Is there any public, being a public hearing, any public comments?
There are no public comments, and we're seeking a motion to close the public hearing and return to the regular business meeting.
I move we close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you, that motion carries. Are there any comments or questions from the board?
Just a comment, the sign is posted there to, about the public hearing for the meeting tonight. However, it's, at a dead end, beyond, what is it, Benson Street, or there's another street just there? And I'm not sure anybody ever saw the sign. I mean, it's posted where it needs to be, but, and obviously, there's no traffic going down that way, and, as far as the, cemetery is concerned, you have no need to access to it, so it looks like a no-brainer, if you will. But, again, we have to take a look at how we do our signs. I don't know where else you'd put the sign. It's there officially, but.
Right. In addition to the physical sign being posted, we did publish a notice of public hearing in the newspaper in accordance with state statute. And I guess this is an opportune time to introduce just a brief tangent. Staff is proceeding with a local sign company to revamp how we do our public notice signs. The sign company will now post those signs on behalf of the village and the applicant. The signs will be larger than the present signs. We'll have larger lettering, and it's our hope that it will be a little bit more user-friendly, more readable, especially on highway locations where there's not quite the opportunity to stop and review the text that our current signs have. So as a tangent, we're looking to improve our public notice.
Yeah, I
sign.
think they could be a definite asset. I went by on Bolingbrook today, on Weber and so on. There's a great big sign, about twice the size of our signs. So I think if we can make it somewhat bigger, more legible, that would help. But again, I think in this particular case, the public doesn't have much interest. It's kind of a no-brainer. So but thank you for working better on the process. So.
I'm sorry, Jonathan, I had a couple questions. So, to the east, is the abutting landowner the landscape company, or is it the cemetery?
Directly to the east of the terminus of Robert Avenue is the landscape company. That street right-of-way will remain intact, so the area to be dedicated is only north of the north right-of-way line of Robert Avenue. So there will still be a right-of-way connection to the landscape.
Right, but so east of what's being vacated, is this at cemetery or landscape?
The property comes to a point, so a portion is contiguous to Massey Avenue is the township. There may be a sliver that would be landscape supply. Could look a little bit. I would say the majority, if not all, is township property.
I'm sorry, can you point it out there, or no? So
This may be the property line here is essentially at the northeast corner of what would be the Robert Avenue right-of-way.
so that part right there is cemetery?
Correct. This area, kind of, if you can see where the mouse is moving, is all Plainfield Township.
And then the only other question is, are there any utilities? Should we, or have we reserved any utility easements?
I don't believe it's necessary at that location.
Are there any other comments or questions? Not, we're seeking board consideration of a motion to direct the village attorney to prepare an ordinance granting approval of the vacation of Massey Avenue north of Robert Avenue.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Trustee Rassich?
Yes.
Trustee Wajowski?
Yes.
Trustee Benucci?
Yes.
Trustee Lamb?
Yes.
Trustee O'Rourke?
Yes.
Thank you, that motion carries. Next item on the agenda is 14858 South Flanders Lane. We're seeking board consideration of a motion to adopt the findings of fact of the Zoning Board of Appeals as the findings of fact of the Board of Trustees, and furthermore, to direct the village attorney to prepare an ordinance granting approval of a variance to permit a patio to encroach into the side yard setback of the property commonly known as 14858 South Flanders Lane.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Are there any comments or questions on this item? Hearing none, I'll proceed with the roll. Trustee Rassich?
Yes.
Trustee Wajowski?
Yes.
Trustee Benucci?
Yes.
Trustee Lamb?
Yes.
Trustee O'Rourke?
Yes.
Thank you. That motion carries. Next item on the agenda is Vista Point. We're seeking board consideration of a motion to open a public hearing regarding the proposed amendment to the annexation agreement.
Propose we open the public hearing regarding the amendment to an annexation agreement.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. That motion carries.
And if I may just provide a brief introduction, this case has been before the village board previously this year as part of a concept plan review. The board may recall the project was originally annexed into the village in the 2004-2005 timeframe, and the north portion north of Walker Road proceeded to formal entitlement applications for preliminary plat and a planned unit development in 2008. Just for general site context for the board and the public, this project is located east of Ridge Road, between Wheeler Road and Walker Road in the southwest quadrant of the village. The applicant is before the village board this evening requesting an amendment to the annexation agreement and subsequently major change to the plan development to do two things. Essentially, it's to provide an alternate land use in a few locations where the previously approved land uses are no longer required. Specifically for a school site, District 202 no longer needs. For a private clubhouse amenity that's no longer being proposed, and then for an area commercial node that's being proposed to be adjusted in area from 20 acres to 10 acres. So there's a total of about 40 acres that had previously identified land uses that the petitioner is now proposing for residential land uses. And then the second aspect that's being requested is some adjustments to the land plan to reflect changes in the trends in the housing market and what the current housing demands are. In terms of numbers, the applicant is proposing to increase the total number of homes from approximately 1,260 to approximately 1,390, so an increase of, I believe, 126 dwelling units on those 40 acres. That would be at 3.15 units per acre, slightly below the 3.2 units per acre density that was provided in the original approved annexation agreement. As I noted at the outset, both the Plan Commission and the Village Board had an opportunity to review these proposed changes in concept plan earlier this summer. The Plan Commission and the Board had some input. The petitioner has revised the concept plan to reflect that input. Specifically, on the north end of the project, the land plan has been adjusted to provide the proposed townhomes directly east of what would be a future commercial node at Wheeler Road and Ridge Road. And in addition, they've reduced the number of proposed 6,000 square foot detached home lots from 210 to on the order of 140, and introduced 70 duplex dwelling units. So I know the petitioner is here and may have further information, but in summary, the request is to provide comparable housing types at the densities previously approved on the 40 or so acres that are no longer programmed for the school, the private clubhouse, and the reduced commercial node at Walker and Ridge Roads.
This is a public hearing. Are there any public comments? There are no public comments, and we're seeking a motion to close the public hearing and return to the regular business meeting.
Move that we close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. That motion carries. Are there any comments or questions from the board?
Yeah, I watched this, well, originally came to the board and then went back to the Plan Commission. Plan Commission saw it, I believe, twice, and there were some revisions the second time to coincide with what the Plan Commission requested. So I think the applicant's done a good job of trying to make this an attractive proposal for the future. They've accommodated, I think, the public interest, and I'd recommend that we approve it because it's a good design, and they've been very responsive to things which we think are beneficial.
John, he hasn't increased the density at all, has he? Of the lots that are proposed?
Relative to the previous concept plan,
Yes.
I hope I addressed your question accurately. The original annexation in 2005 included 1,265 dwelling units. The current request is for 1,391 units, so that's an increase of 126 units. But that increase is on 40 additional acres that were not previously proposed for residential development. 28-acre school site, 10 acres is being proposed to be converted from commercial to residential, and then 2 or 3 acres for the private clubhouse. So the additional 126 units on 40 acres is at approximately 3.15 units to the acre. The original annexation agreement has a density of 3.2 units to the acre. So the proposed density for this additional 40 acres is slightly below what was approved with the original annexation agreement.
Is that consistent with the area around it?
Yeah, so as a frame of reference, and you can actually see some of the related projects, the Comble property here to the east is, I believe it's 2.4 units to the acre, but it has some of the comparable lot sizes as is being proposed. Walker Point, which is in just south of Comble, is at 3.3 units to the acre. And then west of Ridge Road, Harmony Ridge, which includes some additional condos and attached multifamily, is 4.35 units to the acre. So what's proposed for this project is compatible with additional entitled projects in the vicinity.
Thank you.
I just have a question. I'm sorry. I think I might have missed it when it came back for the village board. I might have been absent that time. So I know anytime you eliminate a school property, that obviously there's open space, quite a bit of open space associated with that. And I know we changed some of the densities on this, but did we create any additional open space when we eliminated that 40 acres that shows up somewhere else from the original plan?
You can see, let's see. I guess they don't have it included here in the graphics. I apologize. There are Central Park spaces conveniently located. That's kind of in keeping with the Park District's policy for trying to have more regionalized, larger open recreation areas. Makes it a little easier for their maintenance. It's a little easier to expand. As neighboring parcels develop together, they can kind of match up the park dedications on adjacent properties. So the proposed open space is not in the identical configuration as the previous plan, but in terms of the acreage, the open space dedication per 1,000 residents, which is how the park obligation is determined, it's compatible with between the original 2005 approval and the current plan.
Okay, so I guess help me maybe to understand. So if the school site's gone and we're building more residential units, have the parks actually gotten bigger?
There would be additional park space, I believe, if you were to do a side-by-side comparison. There would be more dedicated park space to reflect the increase in residential dwelling units.
And I believe it was a favorable recommendation from the planning commission, correct?
That's correct. There was a dissenting vote, and I believe that was related to some concern over the 6,000 square foot lot size. And again, that number has been reduced from the concept plan previously considered by the village board. It's now down to, I believe, 140 dwelling units, which is approximately 5% of the overall number of homes proposed.
I know the planning commission does their homework and they do a very detailed review, so I will support their recommendation.
Are there any other comments or questions from the board? Not. We're seeking board consideration of a motion to direct the village attorney to prepare ordinances granting approval of the requested amendment to the annexation agreement and special use for plan development, subject to the stipulations noted in the staff report.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Trustee Rassich?
Yes.
Trustee Wajowski?
Yes.
Trustee Benucci?
Yes.
Trustee Lamb?
Yes.
Trustee O'Rourke?
Yes.
Thank you. That motion carries. Next item on the agenda is Rick Hackey State Farm facade grant. We're seeking board consideration of a motion to approve a facade grant for $6,279 for eligible rear facade improvements completed for the property at 24048 West Lockport Street.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Are there comments or questions on this item?
I'm sorry, just quick clarity. So dumpster cost is included in one of the items. Is that a standard reimbursement cost for the program?
Not typically, and I think some of the costs were not supported for approval, such as the permit fees. If that one is actually included, that could be reduced in the motion.
The dumpster cost is typically not included?
Not if we're talking about a construction dumpster, not typically.
So I guess then the question is, you say we could
Reduce that.
pull it
Staff
out
would,
to be more consistent.
yeah,
so I
staff would
don't know
make that
if
adjustment.
other board members feel that that's something we should consider.
Yes, I agree with you, Ed.
Agree too.
So I guess so do we have to vote on the first motion first or modify it?
No, you made the motion, so you can amend your motion to reflect
Okay, I amend my motion to eliminate the reimbursement for the dumpster cost.
and Bill, you accept the amendment for the second.
Second that, yeah. Withdraw the first, second the second.
Mr. Mayor, if I may just offer just a couple thoughts relative to this. I know that this work has been completed. This is not the typical order or procedure. Typically, we would present a facade grant request prior to any work being done, prior to a building permit being issued. In this case, this is not through no fault of the applicant. They did reach out prior to start of work last summer timeframe, and just was not processed by staff, by myself, so I'm not looking to blame others. So this is a retroactive request. Staff feels that the improvements are appropriate, they are eligible, but staff did want to acknowledge that the timing of this is not typical. And just separately, This is a business that had the benefit of a prior facade grant for the front of the building in 2007 for approximately $17,000. This request is for work that's been completed on the rear, the alley side, which is eligible. It is visible from a public right-of-way. Staff supports that and feels it's a public benefit. And just as a frame of reference, this one property paid into the TIF district, not overall taxes, but its TIF district line item of the tax bill for the current tax year was $5,200. So staff believes over the life of the TIF, this current property will have paid well over the benefit that it will receive should the board support this request when factoring in both the 2007 grant and the current request. So the amount of taxes paid into the TIF district from this property would far exceed the amount they're receiving in facade grant reimbursement.
That amended dollar amount is $5,771.14.
Thank you.
Just as a quick question, the 507, that's for two items, the stair and deck demolishment and the dumpster cost. Now, is there a difference in there, or is this all interconnected?
That's a very good question.
Dumpsters usually are around $300, aren't they? And I would guess the rest of it might be demolition or something like that.
So if maybe we could find the number of that and then reduce it by that much for the dumpster cost,
We have them.
if that's all right with the trustees.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, that's all we're talking about is a dumpster, so.
Say just not to exceed.
I mean, you know, my comment is that I support the program. I think it's working, doing what it's supposed to do, which is encourage people to upgrade their facilities, so. I don't know, we got another, 4, 5 years left for the TIF, and then I'm guessing, you know, it'll be interesting to see how that program looks after that, so. I would encourage more landowners or building owners to take advantage now.
Actually, most of them have taken advantage of it.
It's good.
We're very fortunate. There are less than 4, I believe, that have not yet participated, and we're expecting to have 2 of those come forward possibly this year. So it's been a very successful program. You're absolutely right. So disregard my number of $5,771.14. We'll just go back administratively and figure out what the number is, but it will be less than the $6,278.74.
You need a motion that says that amount less
You,
dumpster cost, or
you
all right?
didn't state a motion. What you stated was take out the dumpster costs, so we can handle that administratively.
Are there any other comments or questions? If not, the motion was made and seconded to approve a facade grant as identified in the staff report for eligible rear facade improvements completed for the property at 240-48 West Lockport Street, removing the dumpster costs. Trustee Rassich?
Yes.
Trustee Wajowski?
Yes.
Trustee Benucci?
Yes.
Trustee Lamb?
Yes.
Trustee O'Rourke?
Yes.
Thank you. That motion carries. Next item on the agenda is Plainfield Small Business Park. We're seeking board consideration of a motion to adopt the findings of fact of the Plan Commission as the findings of fact of the Board of Trustees, and furthermore, seeking board consideration of a motion to adopt ordinance number 3282, granting approval of the requested major change to the plan development for the Plainfield Small Business Park to include liquor store and convenience stores as permitted uses in the plan development.
So move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Are there any comments or questions?
I have a question, sorry. So what is our current policy on liquor in convenience stores? Can convenience stores sell liquor?
They do. They
Can-
do.
Can gas stations sell?
No, currently, convenience stores can have liquor licenses to sell packaged liquor, but we do not have any at any gas stations at this point.
Would they qualify or do not qualify?
Just not accepted at this time.
Actually is.
Okay, but I mean theoretically, those are convenience stores, similar, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
but at this time, the board hasn't seen in the past nor currently the authorization for liquor license in gas stations.
Thank you. And currently, I think we just approved the other ordinance that liquor stores are not really named in industrial uses, correct?
Well, in this particular instance, this is a,
PUD, I understand,
Yeah.
right, but I just wanted to make sure clarity. So normally, it
Correct.
would not be allowed in an industrial use.
correct, sir.
Are there any other comments or questions? The motion was made and seconded to adopt ordinance number 3282, granting approval of the requested major change to the plan development for the Plainfield Small Business Park to include liquor stores and convenience stores as permitted uses. Trustee Rassich.
Yes.
Trustee Wajowski.
Yes.
Trustee Benucci.
Yes.
Trustee Lamb.
Yes.
Trustee O'Rourke.
Yes.
Thank you. That motion carries. We're seeking board consideration of a motion to adopt ordinance number 3283, increasing the Class C liquor licenses from 5 to 6 for a packaged liquor store to be located at 13717 South Route 30, Unit 113A.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Are there any comments or questions? Hearing none, I'll proceed with the roll. Trustee Rassich?
Yes.
Trustee Wajowski?
Yes.
Trustee Benucci?
Yes.
Trustee Lamb?
Yes.
Trustee O'Rourke?
Yes.
Thank you. That motion carries. Administrator's report?
Happy birthday, Mr. Rassich.
Thank you.
No other report.
Management Services report?
I have one item for consideration tonight relating to the electric bids for the village facilities. Back in January of 2014, the village entered into a 36-month contract with Energy Me, which does expire this January 2017. As the board might recall from past years, the way the bidding process works, it requires the village to sign the winning bidder's contract within hours of the bids being received. And because of that, staff is recommending again this time that the board tonight authorize the village administrator to approve the contract. This will allow for the bidding process to commence on a day when pricing is more favorable and also for the quick execution that is necessary for the contract. Progressive Energy Group, again, has helped staff and provided the electric analysis that's in your packet. And based on that analysis from last week, the preliminary fixed rate quotes are falling between 1.7 and 1.9% below our current rate. And the 100% green power rates are falling approximately upwards to 2.2% higher than our current rate. All of the rates are falling below the ComEd tariff rate. So that's the good news, is when we go out to bid, we should be saving money based on what ComEd is providing at this point. Something else to note, even if we go with a flat rate at the end of the day, ComEd will be increasing the distribution rates 5 to 7% over the next 3 years, and that'll start next June. So even if the rates remain flat on the supply, the distribution rates will go up. So we will expect an increase in our costs based on what ComEd does. In addition to that, Arnold Trammell, who is here from Progressive Energy Group, just informed me that today's rates are higher than what last week's were. So another reason that staff is recommending that the board authorize that the administrator assist with the contract approval so we can go and get those bids out on a day that makes the most sense, when it's most favorable for the village to enter into the contract. So Arnold is here and can answer any of the questions relating to the energy pricing and also the capacity charges that are included in your packet. But staff is recommending approval that the administrator approve a contract up to 48 months with the lowest provider.
Before we continue with that, Mrs. Pleckham did a wonderful job telling you about our green policy toward buying electricity. In the past 2 rounds, we have gone the route of purchasing green credits when we buy the electricity. The gap has not been all that different between the 2 options, so it was an easy sell for us to go forward with that. It is a good question for the board to consider. As you know, the CMAP and the Chicago Mayor's Caucus has been promoting the Greenest Region Compact 2, of which this would be one of those things that they would look toward, is to see whether or not we buy green energy where we can as a municipality. Again, it's a question of dollars and cents and a question of policy for the board, but I do want to put that out there and make sure that if it's something you want us to consider, by all means, we will make that a priority. But as you know, Tracy and I are more interested in saving taxpayer dollars than buying the green credits at this point. But again, the boards in the past have found the gap wasn't all that large and wanted us to buy the green credit. So
Can you quantify the gap?
Currently, the number that you're looking at is, it could be a swing of about 4%.
4% on 387,000?
Correct.
Talking about $15,000 difference.
Yes, sir.
And given the fact that we have some capacity charges that'll be increasing, it's the board's pleasure to go 100% green. That's the policy, and we would move forward with that. Also, we had a long discussion on green power the last time I believe this contract came up. The power goes to the grid goes out to all of the area. So we will buy 100% green. We may not receive 100% green. It's what's in the grid itself. The ultimate preliminary rates that are not 100% green is mandated to be 2 to 4% green energy. State mandates that as well. So.
Are there any comments or questions?
I'm sorry, I have a question. So in the past, there was another, I'm thinking it was another program where the residents could take advantage of the lower electricity costs. That is not going to be the case with this, what we're talking about, correct?
This is just for the village facilities. The aggregation for the residents is in a separate contract, separate deal, for lack of a better term. And we've actually, it was Homefield was the last energy provider for that one. But that is separate from what we're talking about tonight, correct?
And you don't see any current savings, so there's no program offered right now for the residents, correct?
The program is still technically there, but if you are using that program, you actually are paying more. We had a wonderful 4-year run of savings for our residents. It was rather substantive and real in the first 2 years. However, we went into it knowing full well with the other Will County Governmental League communities that were part of the entire overall program that it would be rather short-lived. The ICC and ComEd knew that they would be reissuing their rates and republishing those, which has largely closed that gap, and in this past summer surpassed the savings that we were having. So our recommendation back in the past summer was to have all the residents reach out to disconnect from that service.
Thank you, just for clarity, I appreciate that. And then, were you asking for input on the green purchase?
I would like to have an understanding if the board is still comfortable with us acquiring green credits, or...
My feeling is if it's gonna cost us more, I would like to use that money, save it, and because it doesn't sound like we're gonna be guaranteed green anyhow, depending on how the grid is set up, so I would rather use that savings for conservation.
I agree as well. I think if you buy the green credits and it goes into one big pot, and if you get just a little bit back and you're not even sure how much you get back, it's not worth it. I think you should save the money and use it for conservation in the area rather than buying all these green credits.
Yeah, from my perspective, $15,000 is a fairly significant amount. I know one of the things that we've been talking about, or considering anyway, is that have a green community. And if that's the case, we want to put a lot of energy into that, in the program of making ourselves more green, then perhaps we ought to consider it. But how active are we likely to be in the green community program? Do we have a feel for that yet?
We're still taking a look at the information that was provided to us through the Will County Governmental League. It seems generally a fairly passive program. A lot of the things we already do. We're actually ahead of a large number of communities that have already adopted the Greenest Regional Compact. So I feel pretty confident that this decision is not going to be a reason not to have been considered for our involvement in being a regional green program. As you mentioned, as Trustee O'Rourke mentioned, we actually do have a rather robust, comparatively robust conservation program. The Monday night series in particular that John Prue and Alan Persons put together with the library and some other folks actually gets quite a lot of consideration and is used by others throughout the region as an example. So we do quite a bit. So I feel very comfortable that you're doing the right thing, but I feel as though I need to point this out to you.
Tracy, these distribution rates from ComEd, is that 5 to 7% on the whole 389,000? Is that what they're proposing?
Right, it's a separate charge within the structure of the bill itself. So it'll be tacked on, as you can see on the attachment. Not all next year, it'll be within the next 3 years on top of the supply charges that we'll have, whatever the rate is that we have for that.
Well, on the electric bill we get now, they're about a third, the service they provide. That's going to 5%, or is the 5% of the total bill going up?
It's on the
That
1/3.
one- Yeah, on the
On the
1/3.
It's on the
Okay, so
Right,
the
right,
actual
right.
increase would be not,
Not over the 389.
that'd be more like,
Exactly.
2% or 1% of it.
Correct.
Okay.
But based on Mr. Murphy's comments, I guess I would recommend that we go for the lowest cost and not worry about the green part. We can readdress that next year if being green makes a big difference and our participation there. So I would save the $15,000 for this year.
Any other comments or questions? Not, we're seeking board consideration of a motion to authorize the village administrator to approve a contract with the lowest cost electricity provider for the village facilities for a period of up to 48 months.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Trustee Rassich?
Yes.
Trustee Wajowski?
Yes.
Trustee Benucci?
Yes.
Trustee Lamb?
Yes.
Trustee O'Rourke?
Yes.
Thank you. That motion carries. Engineers report?
No report.
Planning department report?
Staff is seeking reapproval of the final plat for the Lenny's Gas and Wash project. As the board will recall, our subdivision code requires final plats to be recorded within 180 days of village board approval. This plat was processed for local signatures and sent to IDOT for their signature. There was a delay in obtaining IDOT signature, and furthermore, a complication in that one lot of the proposed subdivision was not annexed in with the remaining property. So the petitioner's redrafting that plat will go back to IDOT, and staff anticipates it would not be recorded within that 180-day period. So we are seeking reapproval at this time.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to reapprove the final plat of subdivision for the Benson re-subdivision at the southwest corner of Route 126 and Droughton Road, subject to the stipulations in the staff report. Trustee Rassich?
Yes.
Trustee Wajowski?
Yes.
Trustee Benucci?
Yes.
Trustee Lamb?
Yes.
Trustee O'Rourke?
Yes.
Thank you. That motion carries. Building department report?
No report.
Public works report?
No report?
Police chief's report?
Good evening. We have one item this evening for the board's consideration and approval. The police department is asking that the board approve the renewal of our contract with Mechanical Incorporated. Mechanical Incorporated provides the preventative maintenance service for the department's HVAC units. We would be asking that the proposal, if granted, would be for 2 years at $8,420.36 per year. And to give you an idea, the contract includes a technician coming out monthly to check the HVAC units, as well as coming out 4 times a year to do a full preventative maintenance examination of the units.
And they do a great job making sure skunk smell doesn't get into your building.
Correct, sir.
Sorry. For
We've
those
had
of you
this-
who are watching on television, apparently this whole building has just been enveloped by a skunk.
And it's-
Been absolutely enjoyable this entire meeting.
We will do our best. To let you know, we had the contract with the company for over 7 years now. We're completely satisfied with the work that they do. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them to the best of my capability.
Are there any comments or questions? Not, we're seeking board consideration of a motion to approve a 2-year contract with Mechanical Incorporated in the amount of $8,420.36 per year.
So
I-
moved.
Whoops. I haven't had an opportunity to use the new microphone system.
Nuts!
Actually, I don't even need a microphone most of the time, but I have to have at least one bit of opportunity right now. I motion to approve a 2-year contract with Mechanical Incorporated in the amount of $8,420.36 per year.
Second.
The motion's been made and seconded. Trustee Rassich?
Absolutely, yes.
Trustee Wajowski?
Yes.
Trustee Benucci?
Yes.
Trustee Lamb?
Yes.
Trustee O'Rourke?
Yes.
Thank you. That motion carries.
That's it. Thank you.
Attorney's report,
No report this evening, thank you.
the reminders.
November the 9th is Coffee with the Mayor. November 11th, our office will be cold for Veterans Day. November 14th is the Committee of the Whole Workshop. November 15th is the Planning Commission meeting. November 21st is the next Village Board meeting. And happy birthday, Mr. Rassi.
Happy birthday, Jim.
It's nice he found his voice, too. I was beginning to wonder what happened over there.
Any students that don't have their paper
Wait.
signed, you come up, we'll do it for you. Come on.
We're seeking a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So move.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. That motion carries.